This is Brent Peterson from Talk Commerce, the show where we bring you rock and roll insights from the world's top e-commerce experts. We've got a treat for you in our upcoming episode. Are you ready to unlock the secrets to skyrocketing your food or beverage brand sales on Amazon? In this exclusive interview, you'll discover the strategies used by today's top CPG brands to dominate the Amazon marketplace. Learn how to optimize your listings, crush your advertising, and build a loyal customer base that buys again and again. I'll be sitting down with Chris Moe, CEO of Cartograph, an agency that specializes in helping customer packaged good brands win big on Amazon. With years of insider experience, he's here to reveal what's really working now and the common pitfalls to avoid. Whether you're just getting started or looking to scale an established brand to the next level, you won't want to miss Chris's expert advice. Keep watching. For more expert insights to help you crush it online, be sure to subscribe to Talk Commerce YouTube and hit the bell to get notified when we post new videos. And remember, when it comes to selling on Amazon, it's all about keeping your business in the front and party in the back. Welcome to Talk Commerce, the podcast where we unpack the world of e-commerce and online marketing. I'm Brent Peterson, and each week we bring you the latest insights and strategies to help your business thrive online. Talk Commerce is produced and supported by ContentBasis.io. This podcast is my creative outlet and has been going now for 3 years. We are approaching 1,000 downloads every week and growing. If you are new to this podcast, give it a listen or check out the fantastic content on our website. From exploring effective marketing tactics to dissecting the trends shaping the digital marketplace, we've got you covered. And we're here to guide you through the ever-evolving landscape of e-commerce. But we're not just here to talk, we're here to engage. Got thoughts, questions, or you want to hear a really funny joke? I'd love to hear from you. Email me at brent@talkcommerce.com and let's keep the conversation going. Ready to boost your online presence? Tune in and stay ahead of the curve with Talk Commerce. Don't forget to subscribe for the full experience and share your feedback.
You're listening to Talk Commerce. Subscribe and download at talk-commerce.com.
Welcome to this episode of Talk Commerce. Today I have Chris Moe. He is the CEO and founder of Cartograph. Chris, go ahead, do an introduction. Tell us your day-to-day role and one of your passions in life.
Sure. Hey, Brent, and hi, everyone. My name's Chris. I'm the founder and CEO here at Cartograph. We're an Amazon agency. We also do some retail media like Instacart, and we specialize in the consumer packaged goods industry. So we work with a lot of food and beverage brands, supplements brands, beauty brands, and some baby and pet as well. And we run their entire Amazon pages, everything from the supply chain, what they should sell and how to be profitable, through full funnel advertising. And so my day-to-day is a little bit of everything. Team's about 60 people. And so talk to some clients, help check in on team operations, and just make sure that we're delivering really good results for our team.
That's awesome. Thank you. So before we get into content, we're going to talk about sort of some of the trends we're seeing in the food and beverage industry, maybe how that relates to Amazon, and also talk a little bit about the ads, what's happening in the ad space. But you did volunteer to be part of my free joke project, and it seems to be degrading, but you did make a good point. Like, it's a free joke, so either the joke is free or at some point somebody should charge for it. And you added a third category that was, I need to pay you to listen to the joke. Which
that's right.
Maybe that's a better category to have. And after you listen to this joke, you're probably going to say, yeah, let's do the paid part. All right. So here we go. I was once a personal trainer until I gave my 2-week notice.
Yeah, I think you got to pay a toll to tell that one.
It's a thinking joke.
It's a thinking joke. It's a thinking joke, but it sucks the joy out of it.
All right. That's fair. All right. Sucks the joy.
quitting, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, I'm quitting because I'm too weak. I said in our green room, I've got this I'm using Rapid API to get my jokes. Nope, we're going to go right into content because these are horrible jokes. They're not even, I don't think there's any good that are worth it. So tell us a little bit about. I mean, who would ever thought? I guess even is it 30 years now that Amazon started that we would be in a place where there's a company that like yours that's devoted to just helping companies on Amazon, right? Tell us a little bit about your company, how you started it, and why. The biggest thing is why does it exist?
Sure. It's funny you say that. I have a vivid memory of about 10 years ago. I was working in finance and I saw this news article about a company that had raised a bunch of money, and what they did was help people use Salesforce. And they raised like 25 million bucks. And I was like, what? How could a company exist to help somebody use another tech product? And here we are. So how we got our start. So I was for most of my career, a consultant at McKinsey & Company. Did a lot of work in growth for consumer facing, and a lot of education work actually. And my co-founder, John, he had built the first Amazon team at GE in consumer electronics. Built that into a pretty big business 8 to 10 years ago. Realized that he had sold enough extension cords to last a lifetime, and met some food brands in the better for you category that he was passionate about. Helped them out on Amazon. Called me up and said there's really something here to build. Raised a little bit of money from Boulder Food Group, and Cartograph was born. So it's been about 6 years. We've worked actively with about 200 different brands, managing them on Amazon. And it's been a lot of fun.
So you kind of both came in from a separate space, and what made you come together as partners to do this?
I actually think we both had a particular skill set. So John knew Amazon very deeply, and 10 years ago, there were not that many people who knew how to operate Amazon for businesses. Like I was talking to someone today, and most major CPG businesses weren't on Amazon in a meaningful way until the pandemic. Like, this is very recent history. And so he knew about how to operate Amazon. I actually knew a little bit about startups and growth, and I knew a lot about consulting, how to run good client engagements, how to communicate, how to be disciplined and scale a team. And the combo of those two things, and a little bit of experience and a lot of passion for the better for you industry, was enough for us to get started. And there was just like a huge gap in the market. There's no one who knew how to do this. We got pretty lucky with some of our first clients. You'll know some of them: Fourth and Heart Ghee, Justin's Nut Butters, Lily's Chocolates. These were like tiny little brands back then. And we started working with them, and they grew super fast. And so from there we said, okay, we got something. Word spread, and we grew every year for the last 6.
That's awesome. So tell us, so today I do want to kind of just dive into the food and beverage industry. I mentioned in the green room, we have a couple of guests that have now just recently recorded that are going to be on the show, and they're all in the food and beverage industry. So tell us about how that niche happened and what that means especially for Amazon sellers.
Sure. So I think that food and beverage for us, emerging food and beverage became a big trend in the mid 2010s because I think there was a few crucial stories where the major CPG brands failed to do innovation well themselves. And instead of, these giant corporations basically have a choice to either find a way to make a cool, interesting, innovative brand, or they can just let someone else do it and then buy it later at $500 million or $1 billion. And so I think some of those early exits, stuff like RX Bar, those created this kind of a gold rush for new and emerging brands. And some of the big stuff back then, really a trend we rode, was the keto trend, which was everyone in 2018 and 2019 was looking for keto products. And when there is a very specific need for a product type, people will go to online because it's not going to be in retail stores. And so that kind of was like the first wave for us in food and bev. And so it's been a big part of our journey, is like tracking the trends and figuring out what's coming. And everyone's been waiting for the next keto, and it's really interesting the last 4 years to be like, what is the next keto, or what are the next things coming?
Yeah, what are the next things?
Well, so we just went to the Expo West, the Natural Products Expo West, and I think there's a few things that were really interesting. One, this was the first expo that felt as energetic as 2019. Like there's money back in the system. Like there's energy around the products. A few things that stuck out. One random one is that I love is clear protein. So it's protein that dissolves clear in a liquid, and it sounds so silly because like who cares, right? But there's a lot of brands betting on it, and that the premise is a clear liquid a different drinking occasion than a shake? Like, could you drink it at a different time or all day? Can we change the way that people consume, protein supplements? Because protein supplements right now are pretty event driven. It's like I went to the gym, I need it, during this time of day. It's a meal replacement. So that's one that's really fun, and I think it's a good example of what innovation in food and beverage is about. It's not always as big of ideas as you might think in tech. Another big one that we've been talking about on our team is about how form factors innovation. So there are a ton of gummies coming to market. Gummy this, gummy that, gummy everything. And I think that there's been a change in like gummy tech. I don't actually know enough to really know, but now the ability to suspend a lot of different ingredients, flavors, form factor, textures and so forth. But what we're seeing is that people are taking supplements and putting them into gummies. And the bet is that this actually opens an entirely new category. And it again kind of feels a little bit silly. But, not only are there plenty of people who don't like swallowing pills, there's really big precedent for this. Like Liquid IV, the stick pack of electrolyte powder, their innovation was basically put it in a little envelope. These tubs existed. They sold a lot of those tubs before Liquid IV, but then boom, $1 billion business. And so creatine gummies are big, greens gummies are big. All these different gummies for like solving some of your ailments are like a new way to do supplements and a new way to consume.
Yeah, Cheech and Chong, I get their gummy ads all the time on Twitter.
That is another thing that, gummies have really changed that industry in cannabis.
Yeah, I think Jesse Ventura, the former governor of Minnesota, has a new company now where I think he's doing gummies anyways. That's beside the point. It's interesting in the food and beverage, one of the things is just going to a powder, not shipping the water. Is there a difference between having to sell your product in a can or in a bottle compared to like Liquid IV or one of the other brands that allows you to have it in a solid form or like Noon or something like that? Is it easier for them to sell on Amazon than it is in a can, or having to ship that water is expensive?
Totally. So you actually bring up one of the more interesting dynamics in e-com and in food and bev. It is way easier to not ship liquid. It is way more profitable, way more efficient, just because a lot of ship cost is determined by weight. And so anything that has water in a can is very costly. And so like your best e-commerce products are small, light, and expensive. And so bottles of water are basically the opposite of that. And so that it's a very challenging thing. Now, the thing that's really interesting is there's a lot of beverage brands who realize this sometime in their life cycle, especially in the emerging set. And they then will often launch a powdered product of some sort. Maybe it tastes the same way, maybe it has a similar function or something along those lines. And it's actually super difficult because people like drinking liquids a lot more than they like doing the arts and crafts of mixing them themselves. And it's also like a totally different buying experience and supply chain and all that kind of stuff. Like people see you on shelf, they grab it from a cooler or refrigerator or a grocery store shelf. The powders are not that. And so it's actually, even though it feels like the same thing to the consumer, it's quite difficult for these brands to effectively pivot their sales. It's almost like they have to teach a consumer a totally new buying experience, even though it like seemingly converges on the same thing once you mix it with the liquid. It's pretty challenging, actually.
Yeah, I suppose there's a difference in the amount of powder you put in for water and like that actual taste or what it's supposed to taste like, you don't really know until, I guess, there's a recommended 16 ounces per package or whatever that is. But your Gatorade in a bottle is always going to be that Gatorade in a bottle, or the Gatorade in a little scoop is who knows what, right?
Right. And you don't have to carry it with you when you're ready. You just go to the store and those Gatorades are everywhere.
Yeah. So I'm a runner. So, I think that having those little packages is super helpful for getting, especially in a race, you can just pour it in or whatever, or before a race. And if you travel too, it's much easier. All right. So tell us a little bit about how you help specifically in the food and beverage. How do you help them it must be hard to get seen on Amazon, and making sure you have a brand, I suppose, is one of the most important things, right?
Yeah. I think gone are the days where you could just sell a generic product. There was kind of a golden era of e-commerce where you could sell a generic product, find a niche that people need something and just sell it. Now, really, we work exclusively with brands. And basically the way that you get attention on Amazon is really what it all comes down to is creative, what we call the collective creative on Amazon, which is that square of your product. You have your image, your title, your stars, your price, and your ship speed. You have to craft that creative, and there's a lot of little things that you can do with, like, how do you Photoshop the image and stuff like that, call out the right little details and so forth, and then build your star rating to be at least competitive. Once that creative is relevant enough for the category that you're targeting, then what you do is then you take action to put that creative, give it more exposure. And if indeed your assumption is right, that creative clicks through and it converts, then this flywheel begins. And so that's really what we do, is we make sure we tell the story really well. And like, it's not just storytelling. It's like the Photoshop, it's the pricing. It's like, is the supply chain right? And then ask ourselves the question, and the how is with advertising. Where can we put this where it actually would answer the question that people seem to be asking with their shopping behavior or the search terms they're typing into the search bar?
It's easy for the client to control everything except for the stars, right? The reviews. So that's what we were talking about for the stars. How do you drive that review process? And then, it's a lot of times it's a red flag when it's 5 stars all the time. And I don't know. Is there a magic that like 4 is better than a 5 sometimes, especially if you have 3,000 reviews, you're not going to have a full 5-star,
right?
Because people are maybe not going to believe it. I don't know.
Right. Well, what I'll say is pretty much all of our clients would be tremendously thrilled with 4.9 stars on 3,000 reviews. It's pretty hard. It's pretty hard to get that. Stars are an interesting thing. It actually really depends on category, what average rating looks like. So, some products that are like very what you see is what you get. Like the best reviewed spatula on Amazon is probably 4.9 stars because it's really good at doing that spatula thing. But in food and beverage, someone doesn't like the flavor, like you're not always going to be 5 stars. And so some of ours, there are some categories that really sit lower than average. Like one for example, non-alcoholic drinks. There's a lot of disappointment in non-alcoholic drinks because people expect them to be a lot like non-alcoholic drinks. And so the average on those is between 3.5 and 4. But anyway, to answer your question on like how to manage the reviews, it's pretty tough. There's some services that you can do, like Amazon has a sampling program called Vine that helps build your first 30 reviews per product. You can do things like have inserts in your product that say like, hey, don't forget to leave us a review. And you want to be careful on how aggressive you get with those, that you stay within Amazon's terms. But ultimately, your best thing that you can do long-term for reviews is make sure that what you are promising in your content and the package actually matches the experience the customer gets. And like, basically Amazon it's like a reasonably honest place. Like you can't fake bad product. It just doesn't work long term. Like maybe for a little bit, and maybe you can make a 4.2 appear a 4.5 product, but you cannot make a 3-star product be a 5-star product. It's just not possible.
Yeah, I bought I bought a license plate holder for a Tesla, and it's a clip-in, so I didn't have to drill any holes. And it ended up coming from China. It was for a Model Y. And the person I'm assuming was just starting. He already had. I thought they had good reviews, but I had a lot of emails from the founder on, can you please leave me a 5-star review? Can you write a review about it? And then I wrote the review, and he's like, oh, can you just change a few things? Because your review makes it feel like there was something wrong. When I said I got the package, I thought it was missing a screw, and then I found the screw. And
right.
And in the meantime, like, they had been super helpful in saying, we'll get a screw out to you right away. And he's like, oh, can you change it? Just make it so it's like you just had, And so I did change it because it was my mistake, but he was extremely aggressive he was nice about it, and he also was very clear that he's a one-man show. Like, he was in Hong Kong manufacturing this little tiny product and then shipping it to the US one at a time over Amazon.
Wow. Right.
So go ahead.
That's more of an aggressive review approach for sure. Like, I'm guessing he found your contact info somehow, which is actually, like, he probably did some kind of like data triangulation service that found a way to get in contact with you, because it's actually, Amazon doesn't allow it on the platform directly. But yeah, that's where you're pushing a little bit into the gray territory on review strategy.
Do you think, just diving into this briefly, because I do a lot of business in India, do you think there's a cultural difference on how people reach, like how that, like a merchant would reach out to you in China, India, US? I think North America, including Mexico, are pretty coherent on how we should treat our customers. But man, I have some very aggressive vendors that come to me from the South Asia region that don't quite understand some of those nuances. And maybe it's not Amazon, but it just feels like there's definitely a cultural difference in how you treat your merchant or your client.
Yeah, I think, if I'm to pontificate a little bit on the idea, I think it might have to do with like the degree of trust in the business world. And that, in like American business culture, there's like a ton of like trust that things just move smoothly, right? Package arrives on your doorstep, no one takes it. Somebody sends you an invoice most of the time, and for something that you bought, most of the time you pay it. And I think maybe in other markets that like perhaps are like not as mature markets or like still developing, that trust is a little bit harder to come by. And so that then gets into a lot of other dynamics, which is like, if I don't dictate what exactly Brent is going to do, who knows what he'll do?
Right.
Like,
good point.
It's only my business. Like, I got to defend it. I got to protect it. Versus me, Chris, I can get off this podcast. I'm like, I know Brent won't like post me on like a bad website or something, or, they're like, I don't worry about that.
You don't actually know where this podcast is going to go, do you? It's going to,
you never know. It could go anywhere. You could email it to my mom.
There you go. So let's talk briefly about ads and how you can promote your product. And one thing I don't know, and so I'm interested in this subject, but is there a Google Analytics for Amazon? And I'm assuming there is, that you as somebody can learn how your traffic is and how are you performing just for your product, even for your product page. But for your product page, but that would help you on your ad spend, right?
Totally. So there is a pretty broad and constantly evolving ecosystem of Amazon data. Most of it provided by Amazon, actually. It's not very much third party, of performance of your pages. And what's funny is it has been built in bits and pieces in different departments. So there's probably like no less than 20 different data sources that Amazon provides that none of them tell the total complete picture. And so like, I think earlier you asked like, why do we exist? This is one of the reasons we exist, is because piecing together the puzzle of all of that is really difficult. You have like your detail page traffic and conversion, but then in a totally different world is your advertising traffic and conversion and click metrics and so forth. And then there's a different world that has, here's some of the detail on individual search queries, what, like on an organic basis, what your conversion, and like you try to add them up, it's super hard. It's like difficult to tell the story. And actually, even recently, like probably in the last year, Amazon has released something called their Marketing Cloud, the Amazon Marketing Cloud, AMC. And this definitely feels like a post Bezos move. Bezos was like pretty walled garden about the data. And since he left leading Amazon, a lot more data has been shared. And so with Amazon Marketing Cloud, the power of it is you can basically construct audiences to target for display advertising, and then you can also do analytics because they're basically the same thing. You say, I want to see everybody who typed in the same search that Brent did between last Tuesday and 3 weeks ago, and they've bought that spatula before. And so now you can see the analytics on that, which is like how many people have done it. And then you can also construct the audiences on it. And so this is like a whole new world. All the like Amazon industry tech platforms and service providers have been talking about it, but it's still in practice not used all that much. And yeah, I mean, like that's kind of like a big reason why you hire an agency is to be like, okay, how do we utilize this thing? How do we actually get leverage out of it? And the big question I always ask is like, how can we go from interesting insight to actually incremental impact? Because interesting insights are usually pretty easy to come by, but actual impact, incrementality is a lot harder.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be like some big company doing something like universal analytics and then switching to the version 4 of whatever that was and making it 10 times more complicated and more bespoke.
Yeah. And like every time it happens, it's like a huge, head fake. Everyone's like, oh, are we doing it wrong? Like, do we need to change the way that we operate? And, so if you're a smaller brand or operator, it can be challenging to keep up with. And the tough thing too is the landscape of all the people who operate on Amazon varies by so much. Some people are very serious Amazon operators that only use like a certain type of advertising or don't have any subscriptions versus like their advertisers who only advertise on the streaming platforms or things like that now. And so navigating the ecosystem is tough and it changes all the time.
Going like the rest of this year, maybe even into 2025, where do you see Amazon shining and where do you see it kind of pulling back and sort of and maybe even losing some market share?
Good question on losing the market share. I mean, I think so the big news of like the last month is Amazon has changed their fees on basically they're trying to pass on freight costs for moving about the network. And so the old way of working with Amazon is we would ship in a pallet to the local fulfillment center, whichever one's in your region. There's like multiple in almost every state. And then Amazon would disperse it around the country. And what Amazon is now saying is, if you want to still do that, it costs money. If you don't want to pay that money, you got to send it to 3 or 4 different warehouses all across the country. And it's a pretty big cost swing. So that's change one. Like you're going from low hundreds for a big LTL shipment to even low thousands for an LTL shipment. So it's like a pretty big hit to the P&L. And a lot of Amazon operators are pretty upset about that. It's, having pretty decent margin impacts for a slim margin business. The other one is there now is a low inventory fee as well, which is if your inventory goes below 28 days, you pay an extra 30 cents to $1 per item shipped. And Amazon won't say exactly why, but my sense is it actually has to do with the network thing, which is if you have low inventory, chances are they have to ship something cross country. And they still have to hit that prime 1 to 2 day. And so they're saying 30 days of supply most likely gets you there. So these are actually definitely got people upset with Amazon in a way that folks have not been in quite some time. Like even I can remember. And these are the people that are Amazon's biggest champions, right? The ones who sell on the platform. I think that's an area where there's definitely been some ire for Amazon.
Yeah. So do you think that these like this new retail media network buzz that's happening and, Walmart and now Target, everybody's making their own sort of little mini Amazon. And I think even Shopify was attempting. I think Shopify's model of trying to do something like that is kind of stalled, but all that I suppose has to put pressure on Amazon.
Yeah, totally. And retail media is a funny thing. Online grocery shopping has been super hard for any of these players to get traction. Walmart being the biggest example, spent tons of money, and I think the data is now saying Walmart is growing. I think the way to look at this question is actually you have to go category by category. Because there are certain categories for which the nuances of the different platforms match super well. And there's actually like examples of this, like the places Amazon has not won or won in a definitive way, like the fact that Chewy exists. Chewy is a big pet e-commerce platform, or that Thrive Market exists, which is like healthy foods. Like Amazon has not figured out a way to do perishable foods or groceries. Like they changed the policies on Amazon Fresh free shipping. Their store rollouts are always kind of, doesn't seem like there's a ton of energy behind it. They're all very preliminary. And like Walmart crushes in grocery. Like Walmart's grip on America is like largely that so many Americans buy all their groceries, their perishable groceries at Walmart. And so, Amazon's definitely feeling the pressure on a bunch of different fronts, but then there's other places that Amazon really wins at. Like, I'd say beauty is probably one of the biggest categories that Amazon has made really successful inroads in. That a lot of people, like 5 years ago, Sephora could convince most beauty vendors to not list on Amazon. And now everyone's on Amazon. And then even more so, like you ask somebody, where are you going to go look for shampoo or body wash? Like usually Amazon's one of the first places that they go to look at it. So it's like very different by category. And then like another one that Amazon has not figured out is apparel. Even though Amazon fashion is like, it's big, people buy from it. There's a reason that everyone seems to have the same Halloween costume now because the platform doesn't actually work for clothes shopping. It's like, there aren't words to describe it. I could go on this.
Yeah, no, I'll we winter in Hawaii, and so I wanted to get some long sleeve Hawaiian shirts for all these trade shows I was telling you about. And I bought one from Aloha something or another, and it ended up coming from Hong Kong, which it took a month to get here. But then I went to Amazon and I bought them. I bought some long sleeve Hawaiian shirts, and they came like within 2 days. But the sizing was terrible. Like I bought 2 different brands, and I returned like 3 of them. Now, we have Whole Foods, or we have a bunch of places to return the stuff to. So it's super helpful. I mean, it's really easy to do it. Right. And you would think too, like going back to groceries, you'd think that where Whole Foods exists, that Amazon could crush the grocery market. Like you would think that delivering all those things. I know it's a lot more complicated than that, than just being able to deliver. All right, so we have a few minutes left here. I give everybody a chance to do a shameless plug about anything you'd like. What would you like to plug today?
Okay, I was brainstorming on this, and I don't think I actually have anything like fun or interesting too much. But I'm going to say, if you enjoyed any of these hot takes or these thoughts on different consumer industries, find us on LinkedIn. We post a lot of content. I write a lot of it myself. And you can sign up for our newsletter. You can either just add me, Chris Moe, on LinkedIn, or Cartograph. And if you're passionate about consumer products or e-commerce, a lot of conversation goes down there. So we'd love to have people join the chat.
Awesome. Yeah. And we are already connected. You're in Austin. Are you? So Austin, I have to talk about Entrepreneurs Organization. Austin has the biggest chapter. I'm part of EO Minnesota. Austin has the biggest chapter in the world. It's like 200. They should split, but if you as a founder, you should check it out. They have such a great chapter down there. Anyways, Chris, it's been a great conversation. It's been very enjoyable. Thank you for showing up today and talking about Amazon and all the intricacies that a lot of us have no clue about that helps get our stuff to our doors.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Brent.
Talk Commerce is a production of Content Basis, LLC. For more creative content, go to contentbasis.io.